Yeah, hello all to another edition of the Popcorn and Analytics slides. So I think today I don't say the bad word. Uh, hmm, you know what it is? No, joke. You are welcome to the Data and Analytics live stream. And you don't have to put, if you ask any questions, popcorn instead of data. So I think that's okay. Yeah, today we will learn a little bit more about data projects or popcorn projects. No. And yeah, we have Julia Zuckringel here from Data Story Labs, and she told us a little bit more about data projects and yeah, why is not a good idea to start with data or thinking in data. So I think I can learn a lot today because I'm the data nerd, so I'm thinking all aside from which data we need for a project. Yeah, and also a little bit more information for you. You can ask your questions in the chat, and we will collect it. Also, for the people who want to connect, you can write hashtag Lion. It stands for Open Network in LinkedIn in the comments, so the people know you are open to connect with each other. Um, Also, we have a meetup group. There you find all our next live stream events. I think it's not so good how handle LinkedIn the event page. Also, we have an initiative. It's called the Data Governance Day. It's on the 11th of November. So all are invited to make their own initiative, and we can share it with each other. With each other, sorry. And yeah, I think it's also a very important topic to talk about data governance. Today because we have a lot of. I think it's could be a little bit with your topic, Julia, and yeah, for the people who'd like to learn more about um, data storytelling, they can look at data storytelling. Lab. Okay, I don't have to make this shout out.
Thank you for the
And
shout out.
yeah,
That's really good.
you are welcome. And my first question before we start and jump in the presentation is I have to speak about data governance, and I see often the problem that people say it's like a dry topic, and the people don't like it because okay, governance call it's like, and I think we need more. I call it gamification, so to motivate the people more. I think. What did you think? Is it the same on projects?
Well, data governance is a topic that I often deal with, yeah, with our clients, because if somebody in the company hears data governance, then the first reaction is, "Ooh, this sounds like I'm going to lose control," you know. And we have this huge resistance problem in here because people are afraid that something is coming that is not in their favor. So actually, I'm going to cover this topic today for the next 20 minutes, and I guess I can give you some nice hints how to deal with this problem in the future. But gamification is definitely a method where you that helps you a lot in communicating or in opening up minds a little bit. But you might want to cover the resistance topic, and here we need behavioral economics. Here we need a more psychological view on that. So today I have some instruments, some kind of information, pieces of information from research, from behavioral research for you that covers topics like such as rolling out a data governance project, or maybe also an AI project, an AI initiative in the company. But it also helps when you have a certain analytics project where it's about certain KPIs that have to be introduced to the company, to a certain department. or you want to establish data in general, a data-driven culture, a data-driven infrastructure in your company. So I'm happy about everybody who's interested in that. I promise, I hope I can promise that everybody can take a little nugget from this 1 hour or maybe half an hour that we are going to talk about this topic.
I think so. So then I think I bring your presentation on the stage and I left it and collect the questions that people have. And then we see us in 20 minutes, I think.
Yeah, I have a little question first before you leave. Mirko, do I
Yeah,
have an option to just switch the slides off in between because I want people to see me?
let's
We didn't talk about this before, right? So, surprise. That's perfect. That's perfect. It's just fine. Okay? Because I'm going to tell a little story or one or two stories from my experience how I came to talk about data storytelling or data communication as well. And it's easier for your eyes and less tiring when you see me a little bit better and bigger on your screen. Well, who of you has ever experienced that when you were talking about your data project or probably about your data governance initiative, that people in the room, in your presentation meeting room, were just like leaning back, looking into their laptops or maybe into their mobile phones? Yeah, maybe someone has experienced that. Who of you has ever experienced that when you were talking about your data project, that people were just going into fierce resistance? Yeah, the data can't be right. What did you calculate? This is all wrong. It doesn't matter to us. Anything like this, kinds of resistance. Has it ever happened to you? Okay. I can see reactions here as well. Thank you very much. It helps me a lot. Feeling a little bit how the audience, reacts to my questions. Thank you. Have you ever experienced that you were talking about your data-driven initiative or maybe about your AI initiative, and your managers were like just like going, "Wow, yeah, let's do this. This AI project will solve all of our problems," or maybe this data project. Huh? This is actually good news at first, but then if you are an experienced data manager, then you will notice that you are going to have a problem here because the expectations are way too high for what you can deliver in the first place. You were the person who were leaning back. Okay, yeah, there might be one or two others like that. So, well, anybody who has experienced this one or the other point already, welcome to the club. I have been through these situations. I felt 100 times, maybe 1,000 times. Yeah. I started off as a behavioral scientist, and later on, somehow it happened that I ended up working as an analyst and data scientist in companies here in Austria, where I was responsible for building the department for data and analytics. And when you start off with such a project, then usually you have your first exciting use cases, and people are also excited and want to see something, and there's some fresh air. And it's seemingly not so difficult to get people on the train for data. Yeah. But then it happens that after the first meeting or the second meeting, they don't really give you the budget. They don't really go with you. They don't use the first data applications. So what we, for example, did when I was building this department in this one company was, for example, we made a recommender engine for the sales agents. So it was like a recommender system that made suggestions about when our sales agents went out to the big clients or to the smaller clients, which told them which products to offer or which services might be interesting right now for these customers, and give them also cross-selling tips, because they were not really good in cross-selling back then. Okay. So, and we as the state department, and especially I, as the lead there, went to the meeting, to the board meeting, and to the meeting with the sales director. And the sales director was just like, "Oh wow! So you mean next year we won't have any more training costs because the recommender system will finally do the job with the clients?" And maybe we will have lower staff cost because the machine will take over more or less. Yeah. This is not what I wanted to, a reaction that I really wanted to have. The second thing was when we presented our wonderful, really bright-minded recommender system to the sales agents and told them that we want to help them. We really helped them. You can imagine what the reaction was. Yeah, did they like it? Did they use it? You can already imagine none of these. Okay, they really were leaning back like this and saying, "Okay, we are not going to use this thing." And I was wondering how come. They said they will never ever let the machine take their jobs. It was not even an option for them that it could be helpful and make their day easier when they work. So I really was in trouble because we have already invested in this recommender system, for example, and wanted to roll this out, and this was really, it seemed like it was doomed. Okay. So maybe the one or the other has already experienced this situation, or maybe a similar one. And so it's the question, what is really going on in the brains and minds of our counterparts, of the sales agents, of the people in the departments that you're working with, of your decision makers, of the CEOs, the CFO, whatsoever, when you talk about your data project. Yeah. So now I'm going a little bit into the slides. Let me check if I can handle this, or maybe Mirko can just put the slides on the big screen, please. Thank you. Works perfectly. So without my animation, but that's no problem. Back then, when I was a young analyst, I always thought that actually when I'm talking about my data project, when I'm talking about rational things, about my rational data, about my logic things, then there must be a rational reaction from the audience. Yeah? That I really thought that this information just goes straight into the area of the brain of my listener, where rational thinking works, where rational thinking logic is going on. Would be more or less in this bluish, yellowish part. There are several centers for logical thinking for people who really are into biology or neuroscience, probably. But this is just like, more or less a summary. And I want to tell you this on a higher level. So there are parts in the bluish and in the yellowish zones which are responsible for this thinking, logic, language planning. And I really thought, okay, my information will go straight into this part. And I really thought when I talk about rational things, then the reaction might be rational. So maybe the one or the other who was not so naive like me has already experienced that. So, a lot of times the reactions to our data, to our logic things are not rational, right? Yeah. Anybody? I guess so. That we have this self-help club in here. But I have a solution for you. Don't worry. Just listen. Just stand by and listen a little bit. Then we have other parts of the brain, like this pinkish zone in the middle, which is the limbic system. And the limbic system, for example, is responsible for emotions, evaluation, and attention, for decisions as well. Okay. This is the limbic system. We will come back to this a little bit later. And then what else do we have? You see this very little appendix in also a little bit pinkish down there, maybe brownish, which is the brainstem, which is responsible for reflexes, fleeing, fighting, pretending to be dead. Okay. So for these reflexes like fight, flight reactions. So I have a question for you now that is very important. Who of you has ever experienced that when you were presenting or talking about your data project, that people were starting to fight, flee, or pretend to be dead? Anybody? Maybe you have already once or twice experienced that. So just like me, it happened to me a lot of times. And we are on an interesting trail here. We are seeing that there is a phenomenon behind that. And this phenomenon is basically, maybe we can switch to my video back again, because I'm telling a little bit story now again, Mirko. Thank you. Thank you very much. Um, the thing is that any information that comes to our body, that comes to our mind through our eyes, through our hands, through our skin, through our nose, through our mouth, through our tongue, or through our ears, um, is not each of this information is made for really coming into this part of the brain where rational thinking is going on. And I tell you why. Yes, our body is a miracle. Our entire organism is a miracle because it's huge, tremendously efficient. Yeah? It is really built like taking the least energy that it gets and really making the entire body work. So it's really a miracle of efficiency. Too bad that one of the parts of the body that are not really efficient is this part of the brain where rational thinking works. Yeah, it's the youngest part of our brain, and it doesn't really work efficiently. Um, it really needs many resources for anything that we are thinking about in a logical way. So if all of these thousands of impressions that comes to our mind that we see, hear, smell, taste in 1 second, in this very moment now, if everything would go through and pass the trail onto my center where the rational thinking is working, then my brain would just explode like wouldn't work at all. Okay, so here we have a problem. And what solution did our body find for really solving this problem of having all these impressions and only filtering out, just a few informations that are really interesting, that should really be thought about in a rational, logical way? Well, it established a filter system, and this filter system is twofold. Maybe I can switch the slides a little bit. Yeah, I can do it on my own. Thank you, Mirko. Now, we have all this information. So I still have a little bit of coffee on my tongue, yeah, because I had a coffee before. I hear a little kid out on the street screaming around for his mother. It's not mine, actually. It's a neighbor, so I don't have to worry. I see this wonderful screen here in front of me, and I'm concentrating. So I have all these impressions now that comes into my mind, and my brain has to filter out what is really relevant for me. So we have here like these two filter levels that each and every information has to pass when we when we get when we realize any kind of information, any kind of impression. So the first filter level is the brainstem, the oldest part of the brain, which always asks the question, is this information that I see, hear, smell, feel right now in this moment? Is this threatening? Is this a threat for me? Do I have a problem here? This filter question comes from the time back then when my great grandmother and her husband back in Ice Age were sometimes standing in front of a saber-toothed tiger or any other beast. Then they didn't have the possibility to think about what would be the most which strategy has the highest probability for survival? What could we do? Can we calculate that? They didn't have a blackboard. They didn't have the time in when looking at the saber-toothed tiger to make a rational decisions how we idealize it today. They really had to make quick decisions in order to be able to survive. Okay, so this is why the brainstem is the first filter level for any kind of information that comes into our ears, eyes, and whatsoever. This red lamp turns on when, for example, a car is approaching us very fast on the street. Then, the brain says, okay, here's a danger. You have to step aside or run away, whatsoever. And this red lamp is also going off or going on when the sales agents hear, you should better use this wonderful recommender system because it's going to help you in your work. What they really hear in this moment is, this AI tool or this recommender system is going to steal your job and maybe it will kill you after all. Okay. So this is here, and at this filter level, we have a huge problem, and this is a really big challenge for any of our data projects, because our brains are also set for resistance in general, um, against new information, new KPIs, new data that is really new to us, where it switches quite quickly to this threatening mode, to this alarm mode. Okay, I will tell you later how we can deal with this problem. So let's say the information about our data project was just passing by the brainstem. It was not detected as being a threat, as being dangerous. Then the next filter level for the comes into effect, where the information about our data project should pass and finally come into the holy grail of rational thinking. So, what is the second filter question that our brain asks, that the limbic system asks? It's the question: is this information relevant for me? And what does the limbic system mean by asking this question? That's simple. It actually means, is this information emotionalizing me in any way? So only and only alone if at any point of my body, my brain feels some kind of emotion coming up, yeah, positive, negative, whatsoever, then it might acknowledge that the information that it is seeing right in front of it might be as interesting, that it could really be as relevant to be passed by to the holy grail of rational thinking, to the cerebrum, oder Großhirn in German for the German speakers in here. Okay. So these are the two filter levels that our data project information, or the information about our AI tool or about our data governance initiative, have to pass all the time in order to finally have this logical talk, this rational discussion about what we really want to talk about, and how we really want to deliver value to the company, to the employees, to the customers. Okay, we have to pass these two filter levels first. And how are we going to do this? First, in order to pass the threat alarm level in the brainstem, we have to think how we can reframe our data project that it is not recognized as a threat anymore. Okay, how can we point out the positive things and make them trust, and make us as senders of this message trustable, make the data trustable, make the project and the outcome trustable. Okay. Reframing is one of the big methods here. And then, how can we put our rational data project, our AI tool, our data governance initiative into an emotional context? The one and only way is we have to put it into a story and tell a story about a client, about a coworker, about a decision maker, and really put an emotional context around this. I will go into detail a little bit more, but because what you might think of now is like telling some kind of fairy tale thing. You can do that. We also in our data storytelling trainings, we also do love stories. We do suspense stories, anything like this. But actually, you don't need this super creative storytelling thing. What we need is anecdotes. We tell them stories about how their daily life, or maybe a certain work situation, will look in the future. This is the kind of storytelling we need in order to put our data project into an emotional context that is acceptable and interesting enough for our audiences, so that they don't go into the resistance mode, or in order to make them help us, support us, use our tool, etc. Okay. So there's one more thing you need to know. I would like to go back to science and tell you one thing that is really, really important, and that not many people are aware of. Okay. It's about the fact how our brain processes information about the future, or how our brain can handle future in general, because future is a very abstract term. Yeah, it's really it's hard to it's hard to touch. It's not tangible, and so it has our brains have really problems in imagining future. Okay. So basically, it's like that. If we have a certain, if you might think of the future, or if we might present our data project, or maybe an AI tool, or an AI initiative, or a data governance initiative in our company, yeah, then people have only the brains of your listeners, of your audience, have only two options in imagining the future. It doesn't matter if it's about technology or not. We only have these two options. Either we think everything is going to be worst case, okay? Everything is really, we are going to doomsday, the technology is going to kill us. Or we have the other extreme scenario that our brain can imagine. Everything is going to be super perfect. Everything, the technology is going to solve all of our problems. This is actually what you might, experience right now in the recent AI hype. That you have either one of these two reactions, yeah. And this is because our brain really has difficulties in imagining future. It can only imagine doomsday, or really heaven where all of our problems are solved. And the funny thing is, our brain can even imagine these two states at the same time. So maybe AI will solve our problems by killing us all. This is just a joke. I don't really think that, so don't worry. So the funny thing is, it can imagine the two things at the same time. Yeah. What it cannot imagine is all of these 50 shades of grays in between in between these extreme scenarios. So all the future scenarios in between is really hard for our brain to imagine. So whenever we make something, we make future going, we are building future in our company with technology, with our data initiative, with all of these wonderful things we are making, then we need to shape future stories, future anecdotes that are between this thing is going to kill us and this thing is going to solve all of our problems. And here we are back in storytelling again. Yeah. What kind of visions are we building there? The vision, the content of the vision doesn't matter that much to me right now. The level of the vision work is important, okay? We don't need a generic high-level vision of the future, how the AI will solve our problems, for example, how data-driven or data-inspired we work in the future and how this will help. We need very concrete anecdotes, stories of a day in the future of our coworkers that makes them understand how this recommender system, for example, might help them in the future and how it makes their day easier. Okay. And these stories is about really the value statements, value arguments that you have already prepared for your data project presentations when you point out all the benefits of your project. But you need more. You don't need only this rational argumentation, these value statements. You need to tell them how this day in the future really feels for them on an emotional level. This is the way how you get people into imagining a positive future with your data initiative, how they can imagine a positive use of your AI tool, and how they can imagine in really working with your report or with your new KPIs that you have developed for them or for the decision maker. So yeah, it's back into storytelling, and storytelling is not a generic funny thing. It can be, and we give them room as well. But actually, the point is building future anecdotes is really the recipe, the recipe. I'm not sure about the word right now, but this is really the way how you can solve this problem in communication when we bring it back to one point. It's really building the future anecdotes to take the people with you and to give your data project an emotional context. And this is also the way how you overcome this fast and fierce resistance that you experience a lot of times when talking about the data project. So that's about the science behind the resistance and the boredness about your data project that you experience a lot of times. So now I have some communication hacks for you that might help you on the way. That are a little bit generic, but also into detail. And I'm really happy to take your questions afterwards and go more into detail into any aspect that is really interesting for you. So let me check. Number one. If decision makers don't understand your data project, then they don't need more information. That's one of the the biggest misconceptions we have when we present our data projects. Our data AI or data governance projects are always complex, and we really want people to understand the complexity, right? That's the wrong way. Okay, the determinant for how much information we give to our audience, to our listeners, to the decision makers is not the the amount of information we need in order to make them understand everything. The amount of information we can give is defined by the by the filter mechanism in the brain of our audience that I described before, where only a very few points of information can pass. So most of our problem is that we always overwhelm people with our data information, and we really need to reduce this information and know very well which part or which information we really want to give and what is really the core information, our core message. And this is also the hardest part in the entire data communication process, because it means we have to reduce information. We maybe will not talk about all these funny, fancy data side insights and how we calculated our model that we are used to talk about, because usually we talk about this information and about the technical stuff in our project in order to show that we are professionals, in order to show that we know what we do. But this is really the problem in getting people involved, in getting people engaged into our projects. We need to set this aside and think over it and really go into into information reduction. In our trainings, we have this one step when we go from a certain data project and to the information reduction. This is the part where we bring the tissues, the Taschentücher in German, because it's really a hard process, and some people feel like crying because they don't want to reduce the information of their wonderful project. But you really, really have to do it. If decision makers or anybody doesn't understand your project, it's not because they lack information. It's because they're overwhelmed by too much of it. Okay. Number one. That was it. Number two, you want real impact. Create emotional visions in people's mind instead of fancy pictures on dashboards. So now I'm truly happy that this is a virtual sessions, because otherwise I would already see tomatoes and old eggs flying in onto stage. Okay, because we as data analysts, we love to do data visualization and doing dashboards, and it's also helpful. I really mean it. But in the moment where we really want to convince people and make them understand what our data project means for their work in the future, then we need to go into out of this dashboards, out of this visualization topic, because each time when you present a dashboard or any report, it's always what the others see is a wall. Okay, it's always a wall. You always sit in front of a screen or in front of a certain paper. You always sit in front of the wall, and it's always the question for the people who have to read it or have to learn something out of it, is what's in it for me. They're really searching for the meaning. Yeah. And if you really want to take people with you, help them in the way that you give them a future anecdote where you tell them put your data project in an emotional context, tell them how their day work will look like in the future with your data project, maybe with your data visualization project as well. So maybe we have a little discussion on that afterwards. I hope so. We can go more into detail about this point. And now comes the very most important part. If you talk about your data project, it's number 3 then, but I don't want to spoil at the moment. So listen to me carefully. If you talk when talking about your data project, okay, don't talk about data. So what else could we talk about in that moment? Does any one of you have a wild guess what we should talk about in this very moment when we present our data project, our AI initiative, our data governance project? What should we talk about? Okay, thank you. Okay, let's go and answer this question. When you talk about a data project, don't talk about data. Talk about people. Why and which people is she talking about? So this might sound like a crazy idea, but this is really key, okay? Our brain is used to from being a little kid on is used to learn by observing other people. So our brain learns in sequences when we observe our parents when they do something, when we observe anybody from the family or friends doing something, or maybe teachers showing us something. So we always learn in the context of other people. Okay, so we always learn by stories about other people or by observing other people. This is why our brain is so good in learning with stories about other people. Okay, I can go into detail about this also a little bit more. I hope you're interested in that. But when I say concretely about your data project, talk about people. Which people would be interesting? Which people should you talk about? Yeah, there's a certain list of categories of people you can talk about, and the most important ones are these three that I'm telling you now. Number one, people who are in the data. Back then, I was in marketing and sales analytics. I always had customers in my data. So many times I was talking about a customer journey experience, for example, of one very specific client. If you talk about people in your data, then choose one person. It's not about the cohort or not about the group. It's really about getting the emotional journey of one person. Talk about people in your data. Number two, if you are in a data quality initiative and you want people to really care about data quality in their department, then you should maybe tell a story and talk about people who are in this department and who are really working on data quality, and tell a story how their day looks like when they still don't change anything about the data quality, and if they don't work with you, and tell them the emotional story how the day really looks for them better, and what kind of problems they don't have anymore in the future with your data project or with your data quality initiative. And number three, what kind of group do we else have to talk about? We could also talk about the people who are really affected by your data project or of the future users of your data initiative, of your AI tool. Okay, so you might tell a story how they experience their work day, their day in their life with your data project, with your AI tool, in order to to open their minds and ears and hearts to be more interested about the data project, to finally talk to you and have a rational discussion about the real interesting aspects and learn more about the data project. So you really want to open ears, minds, and probably also budgets with this kind of data communication, not to blur technological things, or not to don't talk anymore about the data things, the technical stuff. It's not the point to hide all this. It's just opening ears, minds for this information, for these complexities, or for the things that are really the things that really matter to you, by telling stories, telling future anecdotes, and talking about people. So that's basically it. So when talking about a data project, don't talk about data, talk about people, reduce information, and think of these future vision scenarios that your coworkers, your decision makers need in order to not only understand and hear your data project, they need to feel it in order to take actions and go forward with you. Okay. So, well, That's basically it. When you go to our website, you will learn as well that we are offering trainings on these things. And yeah, I don't want to go more into advertisement here, but because I'm really interested in your questions, and looking forward to Mirko joining me back on stage and maybe helping me
I'm
in if making
back.
questions if there are any.
Whoa, this was a great presentation, and I think the people really like it. We got a lot of likes inside and so on, clicks. So yeah, for the presentation, so all people here can feel free to click, like, celebrate, and so on. You know the buttons
Can I
here.
see the reactions as well?
I think sometimes they are flying right on. I don't know. I never was on the other side. Now I see something coming.
I see comments. Okay.
Yeah. So let's dive into the comments. There was one
I
question I
see you.
also.
I see you, friend.
Whoa, you got a lot. Oh, how many love you get? It's great. Um, okay. Here are from my college. They are actually in Freiburg. So, yeah. Okay. This one I have to take. Yeah. That's really. Thank you, Julia. Great for presentation and so on. What have we here? Let's see. I can see how. Yeah. So my PC is a little bit laggy. So I start with the first question. Is there a different how people think? I heard about left and right brain side. So okay. I think I understand the question. There it's like people they think more analytical and more emotional or creative. I think it's what it means. Is this different how I communicate with these people? I think this is a question.
Well, as a behavioral scientist, I'm always there are so many ways how we divide people into groups and categorize them, and there is also science behind this kind of categorization, but the science is rather old. So actually, all of us were thinking a little bit, thinking both rationally and creatively. If these are the two parts, with the left and the right brain, the interesting part is that this filter system, this filter mechanism, is established in all of our brains. So it overrules the creative and the rational thinking thing. Yeah, I started off my career in business administration economics. Okay. And the economists always try to explain how people make decisions by we are doing rational decisions, everybody. Okay. So, and for me, this was from the first semester at university, this was an idea that really, no, it doesn't work, you know. And people and scientists in 2002 and 2017 got Nobel prizes because they proved that our brains work differently and that the mechanisms how we make decisions are not fully rational. So you even in the data bubble, and although you might think you are a data guy or data girl or whatsoever, or anything in between, and you are rational, our brain is biologically not able making decisions alone on rational argumentation because one of the reasons, and there are several complexer ones, but it's really to make it simple for now, for here, for this few minutes that we have, the in our brain the area where we make decisions and the area of the emotion are basically one area. So we cannot make decisions on a truly rational basis.
Okay, then we jump to the next question.
I don't
Can
know
we
if
get the
if I
slides?
answered the question that was asked, but I hope so. Otherwise, just
Okay,
yeah.
this is the
I'm just
question I have
blah,
in
blah,
on
blah, blah, blah.
every
I'm just talking.
live stream. Can we get the slides?
Oh, sure, yeah, no problem.
Okay, this was a short answer.
I will send you a PDF version that you can share if you want to.
Yeah, cool. I put it in the recap. Like, okay. A question from Raphael. How we can focus on return of investment, make your data project more relevant to business decision makers?
Yeah, return on investment argumentation is never wrong. There are many cases where it's hard to really calculate the return on invest, especially if you have huge initiatives with data governance initiatives, for example, or any kind of thing. But the thing is, maybe if they already, when your decision makers already think, your project could be a good idea, yeah, then talking about the return on investment would be enough. If they think from the start on that your project is not a good idea, then you might probably not win them over with the return on invest calculation, because they're already prejudiced. What you need to do, and if they're already prejudiced about this, then what you need to do is number one, make them, yeah, put your data project into an emotional context. Tell them how they will have more bonus, how they will experience the day where they have more bonus, where they have less conflict, where they have are super admired by all the other top managers, because they supported your project. This is actually the anecdotes that really help you on a psychological level. If they already have a certain idea about your project and you experience that, the ROI calculation will not help you right away. Okay, and there was a number two, but I forgot about it.
Great one.
Maybe I
Okay.
can. It comes back to my mind in a minute.
Okay, next question. But we have this two sides. It's not good to talk one side about the data and the other more on emotional. I don't know. I think, yeah, my both girls they're working with me are today on a company event. They are in Freiburg to take some drinks. So I think they are with their smartphones online. Okay, I try to decryptonize this questions. The question you have to talk. Okay. I think it's worth in your presentation, and if it's so, like if there are one side, I don't know. I talked to an IT guy, if I or a controller, I don't know. I talk more about data and to leadership or people. I think you have make this job losing problem a lot people have about data or AI. So I have to talk more emotional to, I don't know if it's the right word for this. I think this is the question.
You have to rephrase it. Sorry, I didn't get it.
Okay, I think
Sorry.
in a company when you work, or I work in a company, we have also guys that are more interesting in thinking. They're speaking more IT, more controlling. They are more focused on, I don't know, more on the data. And we have more people like stakeholder management.
Okay, no.
I don't know, people they doing something in the company, and you have. I think this was the time. This question comes was your slide where you say, okay, we need more, talk emotional to the people. So I think it's for all right. I think this was the question. Sorry.
I have one take on this. Okay, this data storytelling approach or this anecdotal approach really helps you when you talk to stakeholders that are not that are not experienced with, or that can't take the complexity of a data project. So the regular stakeholders. And then people who say, yeah, but you don't need data storytelling when you talk to other, or the storytelling kind of approach when you talk to other data experts, right? Because you talk to the others on an expert level. So I have one more question for all of you out there. How often did it happen to you that you were talking to your data guys, or maybe from other departments, and negotiating with them, and you ended up in a cycle of what is Rechtfertigung in English? Sorry.
Rechtfertigung.
It's too late today.
Whew.
When you end up in a circle where it's just about the question, did you make the calculation right? How did you calculate that? Did all the quality measures okay? And you lose completely out of sight where the data project actually was headed to. When you talk only the tech talk, and you don't follow a common vision anymore. You're just discuss and quarrel about the tiny quality measure parts. Yeah. And you get stuck in this circle back there. And it happened to me so many times. You also need some kind of story, of lead idea to take your group of experts to a certain vision where you want to get them. Yeah. Where you want to go together because it fully makes sense to everybody. In order to get them back on track, when you lose your group in this kind of discussions on tiny feature things, on tiny definition thing. Definition is not tiny, it's always a big thing, but on tiny calibration things. So you also need, it's also helpful to take this anecdotal storytelling approach in the moment when you talk to other data experts as well. And I do this, and they can take it. It helps when you get stuck in technological discussions that don't make any sense anymore.
I also have a question right down, but it's, I think, yeah, like from Luis, it's nearly the same. Would you say there's a different level which I speak more technical or more on feelings or more based on profiling to people? So is it what? I think it's like the same question. So I'm more techie and I feel more comfortable when I talk to techies. So I'm because we have
Sure.
the same language. It's not
Yeah,
the right
sure.
word, but so.
When it's about if it's the same, basically, if you need to really if there's a huge river of you have to build your bridge over to get to your stakeholders, to make them understand. If there is a huge distance of your data speak and the language of the stakeholders, then it doesn't correlate with the emotionality in the story. You just need to tell a story that has a certain emotional context. I try not to get too technical here on the storytelling part now, but yeah, how you dose the emotionality in your anecdote is an individual thing, and it depends on the audience. There are some who can listen to stories better. And some others, like the CFO, would say, okay, don't tell me a 5-minute story or an epic story for 1 hour. I want to see the numbers. Okay. There you really need a quick storytelling, a quick, like a pitch session where you can tell a story in 2 sentences that create a picture on his or her mind. Yeah. And still you have this emotional context here, but you don't overdo it. And then you have other audiences who don't want to see any data at all, who are just satisfied if you draw a wonderful and colorful picture of the future of their future workday. It depends on the audience. It depends on you as the sender of the information. But usually we underrate the level of storytelling we can use this was not an full English sentence. What I wanted to say was, let's rephrase it. Often we don't dare to tell stories. We can always like put one spoon more or one step more go into storytelling because the others they experience it differently in listening than we experience it in talking. It always helps the others. Um, Giving them handing over a story than just the data.
I think for me, it's now an idea. We have all, we are not native speakers, so we often searching for words. And I think it could be helpful to make simplify the story. So I think it's for me. I think I will try it out to make my presentation next time because I'm talking nerdy all the time. Try it to make it in English. Find simpler words for explaining, and I think also it's good to explaining more because you have a word. I don't know. It's like fabric, Microsoft Fabric, and I think okay, everyone knows this word because all I talk, it's they know the word. But when I go out and there are some other kind, I think it's also for me. It's a tip for I have learned today.
Yeah, happy to to learn something or happy you're happy with the content. So and
Oh,
anybody who has any further questions, just contact me. I'm on LinkedIn. I'm pretty active. I'm
yeah.
posting mainly on German, but I always also take English questions for sure. And maybe in the future there will be more English content as well.
And you're also can found on this side here.
Oh
I
yeah,
think
for sure.
there's also the
It's
link.
there's no English version actually on the website, so we are
Yeah,
lagging behind. I'm sorry about that.
but I see there are some German speaking online here. And
Depot.com would be helpful probably.
from Barbara Haas, what are the stages phase of a good data story, and are there different kinds of stories for different kinds of audience or goals?
Yes.
Um,
It's a short question to the second to answer to the second question. Yes. Um, and what are the stages, phases of a good data story? You mean probably like the storylines, right? I'm not 100% sure if I understand it correctly, but there are different kind of storylines that we use. Some, if anybody of you has ever dived a little bit into storytelling, then you might ah, the the German word is Heldenreise. In English, it would be like the hero's journey. Yeah,
yeah,
there's a certain type of story that maybe where that's a kind of the storyline that you find in Star Wars, in Harry Potter, in Rocky Balboa, in Karate Kid, where a certain hero is developing from zero to mastership and has his challenges, and then there's a mentor and everything like this. This is one kind of a storyline. There are so many more that we could use for different occasions in our data project world. And we have I have some I have some for any kind of situations for yeah you could describe your situation a little bit more maybe in a private message or something, and I can help you, or you come to our training, or you read the book that will come out next year. So
okay, then we have also promoted here. Um, how do you explain the impact of your data project to stakeholders who are not familiar with data science?
it depends on the data project. I can help you right away, but just what is it about?
Okay, yeah, it's a hard question, so I think I also give you the website, so check it out. And yeah, the last questions. It's Oliver, you haven't activate show outside from LinkedIn. It's Oliver from Data Pioniere. uh, hello, Julia. We are. Where can you
Yeah,
get
yeah, yeah.
merchandise like your T-shirt, also available as men's version? Thank you for a great presentation.
You're welcome, Oliver. I will send you some body schlap for Fischerhood as well.
I think you love it. And yeah, then there's no question left, but I'm yeah, say that's a good word, clothing word. So I 100% can Madu support really helpful and insightful. I think this was it. And so yeah, this was really great. And then I say
Yeah. Thank you
goodbye
for
to
having me.
all.
Thanks, Mirko.
Yeah.
Thanks everybody who joined and for the comments. Hope to see you soon. Bye. Have a nice evening or day.